Hey, how's it going? I have just a few cards, and dang it, I wrote a piece and I forgot to put the link up first before I started recording. Oh, wait, it's not too late. Never mind. Anyway, so I have a few cards, and one is a Declarations of Mary Magdalene card. And when I was shuffling, this card came out, and I was like, I don't want to read on that. And I put it back in the deck, and it came out two more times. So on the third time, I was like, okay, I guess I need to read this one. So it says, my true voice shall be heard through the women of this world once again, for I am, and thou art too, Mary Magdalene. So for me, the significance of that, especially that it was so persistent, was that I need to be talking about women that we should be listening to, that need to be heard. And those would be the survivors of contact with the whole EP thing. It's still unclear what all occurred there, but what is clear is that people were overpowered and abused. And that's as much as I want to expand upon that, because no one needs to anymore. There's enough information out there to where you don't even need to speculate anymore on how awful things were. It must be said, though, the things that are awful are not confined to attacks on humans. It goes into finance and real estate, and I don't know what all else. If I were to guess, I'd say energy, drugs, weapons, anything that can be sold back and forth, I would imagine. Why would they limit themselves? We're talking about people that don't do limits, that, sort of scoff at the idea of being subject to laws. And that's been the case, the reality, for centuries, and so has also been these practices where all of these items that I mentioned that could be sold and moved around, shipped, it's enough, I think, is a really concise way to put a large matter, but it also comports with what I was feeling for the past year or so, that there was an angry woman vibe in the world and in women, and also people in touch with their inner divine feminine. So male or female or non-binary or what have you. That all aside, there is a component within us that is a reflection of maleness as well as femaleness. And the better those two coincide within us, I would have to say the better off we are, the more consolidated, the more solid, the less likely to topple because of the two sides supporting one another, I suppose. I guess that was a side thought. But the point is those women, they not only have had their own problems and have had to like come out of being traumatized in certain ways. It's like that type of thing happens because the power balance is completely out of balance. And so, after centuries, you are tired of playing a role where that is to be a doormat and that is to be a avatar for every kind of hate or wrongness that someone has. Like, no one wants to be a living scapegoat, a living whipping person. And eventually, tides turn, and enough people are feeling that way or feeling empathy for people that feel that way, that things do finally start to change. And so, don't misunderstand me. These women have every right to be angry, but all women have a sense of that, because if it's not happening to them currently, it has happened to them at another time, or they've seen it happen to someone that they know, or that they know and care about and love, or that they feel like a genetic resonance with the idea that you're tired of being subdued and quieted and diminished when, there have been breakthroughs throughout history that show just how brilliant and strong and resourceful and all other kinds of great adjectives women are, aside from what people that hate women might say. And there are several out there. I'm not even going to name the name of the most noxious one, in my opinion. But, there's plenty. You can choose your own. So, I feel like there's a shrugging off of this historical precedent for the treatment and perception of women, and we're having to, put it out there ourselves. We're not getting help from the oppressor, because they don't want that to change. They like that status quo. But no, they need to, turn over a new leaf, because things are changing, and if you're not going to be with it, you're going to get left behind or mowed down by it. Which, again, is not to suggest violence, but to suggest drastic change. And so, yeah, that's what I got from the Declamations of Mary Magdalene card. The women are going to get their voices, and they're going to get stronger and louder, and things are going to change. Things that were unpleasant and that were kind of not good or productive for anyone to keep perpetuating. It's a good thing. It just doesn't look and feel like it right now, but when the storm blows over, as change often feels like, the sun is going to come out again. Not that it's going to be instant, there's a lot of work to be done, but a big first start is changing minds and attitudes. Oh, okay. I have two oops from my, two from my Starseed Oracle deck, and I see that I left the booklet in the box, so let me just, get back in there. You may want to say something, but just quiet down for now. Okay, so yeah, I have two from the Starseed Oracle deck, and the first one is Child of the Cosmos. Well, I guess the moon is in the 7th star for her, so then she's really feeling her star relations, I guess. Her relationship to the stars. Ooh la la. Okay, let me read what the book says. You can look at that some more, I suppose, while I'm searching. There, is that better? Alright, I gotta set it down. I need both hands for this, I guess. Too far. Okay. Child of the Cosmos, and the subtitle is subtitles. No, the subtitle is, there's just one. The intelligence of the universe lies within you. I was just talking about those cellular memories. I feel like that's along the same lines. Like, they may go on to talk about something else, something other than, women struggling to free themselves from, like, ancestral memories of oppression, or memories from oppression from last week. Okay, so, yeah. The intelligence of the universe lies within you. So that, more than one thing. It's the universe we're talking about here. Okay, so it says, there's a mysterious force that governs all of life. An intelligence that tells flowers when to bloom and the tides and seasons when to come and go. That intelligence is within you, too. It was there before you drew your first breath, and will be there well beyond your last. It's part of you that informed every cell what to do when you were on your mother's womb, in your mother's womb. It's harder to resist this. It's harder to resist this force than it is to surrender to it, because Earth is a planet of polarity and free will. It's easy to forget that this intelligence exists within us. So often we become disconnected from this pulse of life and fall into the pattern of believing that we're separate, or feeling that we need to go it alone. We can feel isolated, as if we need to figure things out for ourselves, to rely on our own strength. Just singular is just, I'm just reading what's written, but I want to get it right. You're being called to remember the intelligence that's within each and every one of your cells. The cellular memory, I shouldn't say I can't believe it. I kind of called this in. To remember that you're a precious child of a loving, gentle universe. Gosh, that's kind of what I was writing about. Okay, I'm just going to include the link. I'm not going to torture you with me reading it haltingly. So I have a little bit more here. To remember that you're a precious child of a loving, gentle universe. That you have access to all of the intelligence, wisdom, strength, flow, and qualities there ever were, are, or will be. And to remember that if flowers know exactly when and how to bloom, then you do too. Starseed Soul Inquiry. How can you surrender more deeply to the intelligent flow of life? This is just being presented to me right now, too. How can you surrender to? Well, surrender. It's right there. If you surrender, you're effectively shutting off your second guessing, you're speculating, you're just like turning all of that off and handing over the reins or the wheel to God or whoever you trust to drive when you're like zonked out, surrendered. Because you have to be that way in order for, insight and inspiration to make its way into here and here where it's actually useful. I suppose it's useful wherever it is. Anyway, the last card I have is Loosen Your Grip. That's along the lines of surrendering. So you can see there's two figures there, two women, and they seem to be kind of tumbling and also asleep. So what did I just say? Zonked out surrender. It's like the ultimate surrender. And then also, I mean, depending on which way you look at it, I could look at it as a vertical thing, but I'm seeing it more as a lateral sort of picture. And they are asleep in this, or not asleep, but surrendered, so kind of out of it, but they've completely given way to wherever the flow of the river that I'm seeing that they're in, between these hillsides or banks. They're just relaxed in it, like like the way a drunk can get into a car accident and the sober people get all messed up, but the drunk person comes out physically mostly unharmed, but then when they sober up, everything goes to hell. So hopefully that's not where they're headed. Hopefully there's more intention to their surrender than just blotting out reality. So, okay, let me consult the manual here. For Loosen Your Grip. I have no idea if my impression is going to have any resemblance to what's going to be in here. Okay, so it's on. Okay. Loosen Your Grip. And the subtitles on this card are Coping Mechanisms, Destiny, Addiction, Let God In, Relax and Let God In, or Your Chosen Entity. Doesn't have to be God. I know that has religious connotations, and people, including myself, are wary to disliking of that. So here's what it says. We're cycle beings, and Mother Earth teaches us how to be human every day with the coming and going of the tides and the seasons. If you're clinging to anything, you're resisting the natural flow of who you are. The things we cling to are so often those we most need to let go of. The food, the substances, the relationship, the job, the people-pleasing. The things we cling to often cover our most vulnerable space, the part we're most afraid to leave empty, the part we guard and don't let grace into. Probably not letting much else in either if we're that closed off. But by keeping that space covered with something that doesn't serve us, or clinging to it for fear of it not staying of its own accord, we prevent ourselves from receiving the things that will. A Course in Miracles, oh great, a reference to some other thing that I don't happen to have. Okay, A Course in Miracles tells us, whenever we leave empty space, grace will fill. Oh, whatever we leave empty, grace will fill. As the Buddha said, you can only lose what you cling to. Indeed, both are true. And can I just add that you can't lose what you never had? Okay, so moving on. If this card appears, you're being called to find the courage to loosen your grip and give up control. to release your coping mechanisms and leave space for grace and God to enter, to surrender all that feels dense and to the divine. Dense as in the divine can't get through, can't penetrate your level of meathead. Can I just say that as I've been reading this and it's talking about relaxing and letting something get through between the little spaces, the space around our planet Earth, in case you're wondering which one I'm referring to, I know that around the planet, like surrounding it, is a lot of space junk, a lot of satellites, some active, some long defunct, I think. I'm not sure, like they might still have power because they are powered, I think, with engines that have long, like, afterlives. I don't know if it's nuclear, but something tells me that even when they're sort of inert, they still possess a tiny level of power, like, that is measurable. I don't know why that's important, but I guess it's showing me a way of thinking about, like, this is something that we all need to learn to do, to surrender to, because we definitely want spirit to be able to reach us and inform us and inspire us and, those things, but we also probably should, like, clean up our outer area, like clean. It's like Earth's aura has got all this, like, techno junk in it, and it doesn't all come from, like, good places, and it's, a lot of, like, space agency, travel, commerce kind of things is very murky and experimental to most of us, but I believe that's just the topmost superficial layer, because we have a space force that the current president tried to make it like he invented it, but it was pre-existing. And I'm not talking about NASA astronauts. I'm talking about basically, like, our space military, our Army and Navy, I guess, more like, in space. And the complement of soldiers and whatever other kind of equipment is required. So maybe the stuff is camouflaging, like all of the debris in the aura of the planet that's surrounding the Earth, with this, some of it full energy emitting and transmitting things, and others just quietly throbbing and emit. Like, it all, I think, contributes to something that we're all affected by, because I'm feeling like gravity in some way is pulling everything it can toward us, and I don't know if gravity can pull things like, insubstantial, ethereal, gassy type stuff, but it all ends up coming this way, doesn't it? So, I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. Like, it would be a lot easier for us to receive what we're surrendering to get if there wasn't a bunch of crap and junk in the way. And also, on top of whatever else I said is attached to that stuff, is the intentions, which negligible to middling, I'd say, because the motivations for being there and putting the sort of spyware up there is not really, like, there's an aspect of, like, espionage, and that's just not above board and open and authentic by design, by nature, by definition. Yeah, so I mean, maybe that's a metaphor for like cleaning stuff out of our own auras. Like, are we just fooling ourselves and littering our consciousness with all kinds of distractions? It's kind of like in the way of us dealing with really more important things than like the stuff. It's funny. So yeah, this all. I'm glad I'm gonna link what I wrote because it does. I feel like have to do with this reading. So I'm almost done here with what this says. Loosening your grip. Oh, wait. If this card appears, you're being called to find the courage to loosen your grip and give up control, to release your coping mechanisms and leave space for grace and God to enter, to surrender all that feels dense to the divine, which means it's harder for it to get through, the messaging, the divine messaging. Loosening your grip doesn't mean that what you're clinging to will go away. It may, or it may stay, but you can be sure that what is for you will find you, and you'll breathe easier knowing that you're shifted from relying on your own strength to surrendering to the grace of life. So, we're not alone when we do stuff, and we often receive help, and we don't even really, see it as such. I mean, we do, but we just sort of take it for granted, and we, I don't think pay, proper gratitude a lot, and the people do not like being taken for granted. I know I don't ever hear anybody say that they enjoy it, so it's probably a universal thing that, everybody's not here just for your use and disposal, and there's one thing about doing something with the expectation of getting something out of it, as opposed to what's right and reciprocal. None of us should do a whole bunch of stuff, put out a whole bunch of effort for someone or something else and not receive something reciprocal in return. And I don't mean that kind of help that you regret giving. I just mean that it's a natural order thing where you give, and then if things are tuned right and everyone's aligned to the right sort of frequency, then you don't have to ask for something to return. It's like you did the action and you can expect a reaction. Although evidently we can get in the way of that and prevent that from happening, and that is not right. That is messing with the natural order, and that just seems wrong. Alrighty. Thank you and good night.